Do you guys see this setup right now? Back part of my room is dark because there's no more natural lighting from the window. And then my face is all bright because all I got is my ring light and then my monitor right here on a bright screen. Because if not, then the webcam doesn't really capture my face very well. It sucks not having a better setup. But I do know how we can solve it. Let's go steal a better setup. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. I can't afford to go to jail right now. What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Leverage Redemption Season 2, Episode 10, The Work Study Job. So this one was okay. I think the villain was probably one of the better villains this season, because he still was sometimes a little over the top, but not cartoonishly so. He felt a lot more realistic, I think, than most of the villains for this season. But yeah, it was a pretty simple story, though. Just this guy stole students' work, trying to prove that he's the one that did it. And the twists and turns, I think, were pretty average for a typical Leverage story. If you think about the plan they set up, trying to get him to resign so that way they can basically take him to court since he won't have the college's backing anymore. But then, of course, it kind of goes wrong because he realizes he can sell it to somebody else so he doesn't have to resign, and then trying to basically get this girl to stand up for herself and actually explain her theorem, get past the anxiety she has about talking in front of people. It's a nice story. I think it works very well. I think everybody plays their parts in it very well too. It even has a couple of fun moments with, for instance, Elliot teaming up with the security guards and janitors and all of them to turn the tables on the bad guy and make him eat his words. It was a good time. I will say that the guy that they got to play the professor makes a lot of sense for him to have a bit of a god complex. If you know, you know. I know that's not a slight at the actor, it's another role he played. So anyways, moving on. The only real criticism I have is the ending did feel haphazard, I suppose. It didn't feel like a lot of this was very well planned out. I think that just comes down to I'm used to a lot of these plans feeling a lot more cohesive. This just sort of felt like, oh, well, let's go here. Oh, well, this didn't work. Well, let's go here. Oh, well, this didn't work. Let's go here. Most of the time, if the first plan doesn't work out and they have to move to a plan B and then a plan C, it feels a lot less like they're just sort of running from place to place and hoping they get there in time. It normally feels like there's a bit more nuance to it. Like it's a bit more cleverly set up. So that was the only real issue I had with it. But like I said, everything else was good. It was enjoyable. I had a good time with it. Even the moment at the end, whenever everybody's sort of stepping up to this professor and shooting him down, even the one guy coming up and ripping his tag off like he did to Elliot earlier. So much about it just felt a lot more satisfying than a lot of the bad guys getting their comeuppance have in most of this season. But again, I think that's what you get when you have a villain that feels a lot more realistic. Not only is this story a lot more realistic, because I'm sure there have been a lot of cases of professors or just people in charge using the work of their underlings, whatever that may be, whether it's employees or students, and taking all the credit, and they basically don't get what they deserve. And some of them probably do act like this in the more private moments, basically telling them, hey, it doesn't matter what you did, it's mine now. But he doesn't take that into the public spaces. He doesn't go over the top with how he talks down to her and then later to Sophie and her persona. It very much feels like somebody who would be power tripping in these moments would say to people that he perceives as below him. So a lot of that just culminates very well to that moment of comeuppance that felt so much more satisfying. So bravo to this episode for getting me back into it a little bit more. And hopefully the final 3 episodes are more so along this line and not what we saw much earlier in the season. With all that being said though, move on to the next one. I'll see you guys there. And now episode 11, The Belly of the Beast Job. Apologies that it's so dark behind me. It's nighttime now and still don't really have a good way of lighting my room because my setup is still pretty simplistic. But yeah, this episode, really good. Very inventive as well. I feel like we've seen something similar to this before, right? We've seen this type of setup where we're watching what the team is doing, but we're not seeing it through their eyes. We're seeing it through the eyes of somebody else. Did they do that in the original show? I feel like they did for an episode. I don't know if we ever saw it in this way, where they're helping somebody who's trying to take down the bad guy. They're kind of doing all this stuff on the outside. But it was a fun idea. Honestly, the biggest thing about it, I think they really did a good job with Jenna and with Keith, because both of them were very entertaining and they were very likable. I think that's really where you needed to nail this episode, because if the two of them weren't that interesting, I feel like we as the audience would probably not connect with it as much, and we'd just be sitting here going, why are we watching these two random people instead of watching the team do what they normally do? But since Jenna and Keith were both likable characters, they were very fun. You could tell they were both good-natured. They really wanted to help out. It was a nice moment to see them trying to do as much as they can, but obviously also getting a helping hand from the team on the outside, unbeknownst to them. And I'm kind of glad they didn't see them at the end. They didn't catch on, because there was a part of me that wondered if we were going to see them do that, if we were going to see them at the end of it realize, wait a minute, you guys were helping us this whole time. But I think with how this episode went and just the running theme of how random is that, I think it worked a lot better for them to not realize at the end. They could still in the future come back and could find out that they did call Leverage International, that they did decide to join up. But for now, I think it's a funny little bit that they didn't notice that they were being helped throughout this entire thing. And then, of course, at the end, when all of the team is standing there, almost waiting for them to notice them, just like, hey, you recognize us? And they don't see them at all. It was a pretty funny bit. But as far as the bad guys in this one, it's similar to the one with Deborah and whatever her husband's name was, where one of them worked really well and then the other one felt a little bit more cartoony. And Mr. Hogan is definitely the one that worked a lot better because he did a very good job of playing that sleazy douchebag who's very clearly somebody who would take advantage of these girls who are just so excited to be there and help out and stuff. Also very ironic considering what happened at a Coldplay concert recently, that we're discussing this man who sleeping with some of his staff. Of course, this was a lot more forced. I don't think the thing that happened at the Coldplay concert was forced. But anyways, he was very, very good and very realistic as well. So it made you want to see him taken down and really eat his words. Whereas Carol, she was a lot more cartoony for pretty much the entire episode as well. There's even a point where Jenna, I guess she read some of the situations wrong and thought that she was actually trying to help her by telling her not to go into the office. I'm thinking, no. She is not doing this out of the kindness of her heart. She's just a crazy asshole. I mean, just that one moment whenever she comes up to Jenna's desk and like slams her hand on there after she finds out that Jenna went out with him the night before. It was so overdone. As with most of this season, if that had been a cartoon that did that hand slam onto the desk, would have felt a lot more natural. But even whenever we go away to her story where Harry has lured her away from the office with this Belgian character that he's playing, which was kind of funny, was spoiled for me, unfortunately, because we don't see him until later in the episode. But the subtitles, which I most of the time need to have on, because sometimes the sound mixing in these shows are not very good, so the music can drown out whatever somebody's saying. It's good to have subtitles. But unfortunately, the subtitles do name the characters that are talking off screen, and so it popped up as Harry. And I think that's kind of lazy. I think if you're going to put subtitles in, make sure it says Mysterious Stranger or something like that. We might still suspect that it's Harry, but being told that it's Harry before we actually see it is a little disappointing. However, getting to see the reveal of his outfit was brilliant because I was not expecting the fake beard and mustache. That was very unexpected. But yeah, every time we cut away to her, though, it just felt so over the top. Like her reactions to seeing him, the fact that she's into these romance novels where she gets to meet a lumberduke, kind of ridiculous. But again, that's part of why she doesn't work as a character, especially compared to Mr. Hogan, who was a lot more realistic and much, much more sleazy too. I think that's about it for this one. Most of the gags that they had while the team is doing stuff slightly off screen that she doesn't see, but we get to see as the audience, a lot of those gags worked. Like, for instance, when she accidentally interrupted the conversation between Sophie and Mr. Hogan, or whenever Elliot sees her walking up to the food truck, so he has to switch in Sophie really quickly. Parker, whenever she's messing with the electrical stuff, and then Jenna walks past her, turns around, she's gone, and then turns back around, the cart's gone. There were just several moments like that that worked out really well. So all in all, this was probably, I would say, my second favorite episode this season. I think the first one is probably still going to be the one with the magic baby, only because that one felt a lot more personal. This one was just a really clever idea, but I think it works a lot better than most of the other episodes this season, which is good. And hopefully the final two episodes can give me this excitement and bring me this much joy. With all that being said, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on these two episodes? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all the good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Leverage Redemption reviews. Also check out the channel. We have a lot of other reviews on here, so check those out if you have time. But until next time, I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to y'all later. Peace out.